welcome to, I guess, the post-game show. We're not live, but we just had a massive game go down with the rematch between Texas and South Carolina, where the streak ends. The 57-game SEC regular season win streak ends. The last time they lost was to Missouri, Shawnee, right? December 30th, 2021. Tyler and Shawnee here. Shawnee, I know you didn't get to get eyes on the entirety of this game, but and I say this with so much respect for you showing up here, because you are not ducking the smoke. You are not ducking the smoke. So I know you're gonna get your thoughts off, and then you can leave it to me for the more in the weeds stuff. But Shawnee, South Carolina just lost their second game of the season. Take it from there. What are the vibes? Vic Schaefer gets his win over Don Staley.
Congratulations to him. This is his Super Bowl. So,
hey.
I'm not worried. I mean, it happens. Get the pressure off, I guess. Like last year, I was on pins and needles all season because I was like, is this going to be the game we lose? Is this going to be the game? Is this going to be the game? And then there were no games. So this year, all right, we got two. It is what it is. Shout out to Texas. The stadium looked pretty good.
It's the nicest stadium I've ever been to. It's pretty new. It's so.
Yeah, well, the crowd looked healthy because I remember a couple years ago he was begging, like he sweat, like, "Yo, please support us." Like, you see what they're doing in South Carolina? Why can't we get that? Like,
there you go.
I'll take my jacket off if you guys come. Like, whatever. So good for them for getting a good atmosphere. I like the attitude Texas brought today. Madison Booker was like, "You can't guard me," pointing out at Bree Hall, and I'm like, "Sister, you better get this job done because you're still 7 for 22."
Man.
But like, I like that Haley Van Lith type energy. It does not matter if I'm doing something outlandish. I'm still gonna talk about it. So good for Texas getting their old form back and making something shake. We have more important things to worry about than basketball. Like, it's Sunday, we're trying to spread the gospel. It's just Coxer and missionaries, but like we gotta do better, because like it's just things in this world that are just above us. You know what I mean? I'm not worried. I'm not bothered. I'm not sweating it. I think this makes the SEC tournament that much more interesting, and the Texas LSU game is pretty much going to tell me all I need to know. Because shout out to Tennessee, they're in the mix. So now I got my top four still South Carolina. Then we get Texas, LSU, Tennessee. But I think if Texas can hold on against LSU, that has implications, because now we see that they can beat them, but like, neutral, but also home court because it's in Greenville. So,
right.
It's going to be like CLA North Campus. So, sorry, guys. I still think we split the difference. You know what I mean? Like, we beat the piss out of them that first game and had them shell-shocked. They looked like, I will say, I did like that. Again, the bounce back and not looking scared and not looking like, oh my gosh, it's South Carolina. Like, they know that they can actually hang and compete now. But at the same point in time, that was not the best game from South Carolina. So you took care of business, but can you handle that, when we turn it up a notch in the tournament? So I think it's going to be a good one if they make it to the finals. Like I said, LSU, Texas is going to let me know something. And it's Sunday. Keep touching grass. Like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to touch some more grass. It's a beautiful day. My allergies are acting up, so I can't touch too much grass.
Oh.
But, yeah.
But no,
oh, no. Would you?
I'm with you, though. I'm like, from a genuine, like, unbiased, like, outside looking in perspective, I like the fact that there is now more competition in the SEC with Texas coming in this way. Like, this just makes it more fun. Like, to your point about the SEC tournament, which you'll be boots on the ground for.
Hello.
That gets fun. LSU, Texas, which I'll have boots on the ground for. That gets
hello.
UConn, South Carolina next Sunday. that gets more fun. Now you got two teams that
Boots on the ground also as well. Hello.
Man, that's crazy how that adds up. Look at where we be. But now
Gonna need some more boots. We wearing them out.
Man, mine got holes in them already. But now, I mean, to your point, this was not South Carolina's best game. I can only imagine the lock-in if we see this in the SEC tournament again. I don't know if they'll bring the Asia Wilson statue like up to Greenville, but the home court advantage is going to be there. And
we might just bring Asia. Like, what, girl? Take that flight. Flights from Miami ain't that long.
Mm-hmm.
Hop on and lock in.
It ain't too bad. But Shawnee, any closing statement? Are you so on a scale? Is there any level of worry at all from you about coming out of this game?
No. Get all the losses out now. Get all the pressure off now. You know, like standard, blah blah blah, regular season loss type stuff. Like everybody else is used to it, so we just join the ranks of the regulars and the normies who do this often. We'll get advice from them on what it's like. I'll talk. Like we should talk to Gino. Talk to UConn. Like
there it is.
How do you guys manage having a massive streak broken during the regular season and then lose again? And we don't have the Big East. We can't play Providence and get our confidence back. So we got to strap up and get ready for UConn here on the horizon, which might be the same as Providence. Who's to say?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I'm not. This team is still young and, in my opinion, volatile. They'll bounce back.
Yeah.
They'll bounce back, and everything will be fine. So people are gonna make it what it is. It's what happens when you come for the Cox. You bet not miss. It is what it is. I'll take the 48-hour media storm. Super Bowl's coming on. Yep. We can hide behind that for a little bit. So life is still good. Cox are still up.
Cox are always up.
What's Vic say? Go Jesus.
God bless him and hook 'em horns. Well, Shawnee, thank you for not ducking smoke. Apparently, like I do. So, I appreciate you being willing to come and give your thoughts here. And what is, I mean, it's weird seeing South Carolina lose in the regular season, to be honest. But your streak's still alive, and you'll be there at the UConn game. So we'll have to see. I mean, I'm not worried about South Carolina either, but a loss is a loss. And it's weird to see it, honestly, especially in SEC play. Like, this is weird. Like, I don't like it. Like, I feel like uncomfortable with it. Like, it's weird. It's weird. But, Shawnee, thank you for showing up. There it is. Okay. Let's talk to the game. Let's get in the weeds. First off, let's talk about the referees. That first quarter was wicked. And it completely changed, to me, South Carolina's mentality in the way that they play defense. But ultimately, like, it kind of is what it is with that. The referees were pretty brutal. And Dawn even made her comment, like, we're not going to change the way that we play. Hi, Shawnee. Welcome back. Dawn made the comment of we're not going to change the way that we play based on that. But I think even if it was subconsciously, you have to. Pow goes out with 2 fouls. Fagan's out with 2 fouls. Like, that changes the game. Shawnee's...
Oh, I'm about to hop off. No, my phone started overheating because it knew I was about to do too much. But I just wanted to let the people know I don't duck smoke. I make smoke. See y'all at UConn. Tyler, you can keep doing, what you were doing. But I just had to let the people know we're good over here. I'm going to hop off.
There you go. Thank you, Shawnee, for not ducking the smoke, but making the smoke. Okay. So, again, fouls. You heard Dawn in the sideline. Like, Yes, you don't, from an internal mentality, do you shift the way that you're playing? No. But on the court, does it make a difference? Absolutely. The rotations, does it make a difference? Absolutely. And so, do I think that it is the reason that South Carolina lost this game? No. But you can't ignore it to me, because even if whichever way that you thought, like I just thought the refs did a generally poor job, and South Carolina got the early brunt of that with the players that had to sit because of said foul trouble. But to me, today felt like the most that we had seen the absence of Ashlyn Watkins since she went out. And even in the first Texas game, right? Texas, they weren't able to finish, but you could see like this is kind of weird, like with the rebounding they were able to do. Now, those rebounds got padded a pretty heavy amount based on how many shots they were missing and then putting up and missing and putting up. So like it's something that you have to acknowledge, but obviously they did what they did in that first game, right? Today, it was the rebounding margin. Texas wins by 5. So not any type of dominant rebounding like margin in that type of way. But I also felt like they did a much better job of efficiently putting themselves in good positions in the post, whether that be Taylor Jones, whether that be Oldacre. Like at different times, it felt like we saw where Ashlyn Watkins was missing in this game from a defensive perspective. And again, that's where the foul trouble kind of comes in, because you don't want to just be jumping up and getting a foul called on you, right? But ultimately, Texas did what they had to do. The defense on both sides, I thought, was honestly like generally pretty good, right? And I mean, Texas made it very difficult. I was getting nervous from a Texas perspective, because the way that South Carolina was able just to load one side of the ball, because just the pure lack of three-point shooting from Texas was crazy. And I thought that was going to be the downfall. I like in that second half, I truly thought that was going to be where they started to struggle, was when they started loading on one side so heavily. But that's kind of when Oldacre came in and really reasserted the dominance down low in the paint to me. But again, I mean, look, Madison Booker, right? 7 to 22, 20 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. Not the most efficient game, right? And simply she made a couple of shots that she was just simply missing in that first game, right? And it snowballed in that first game. But even having Madison Booker, again, not by any means the best efficient volume of shooting, but the fact that she was able to go and get buckets whenever she was getting fouled, which, say what you want about the fouls, they happen, they're there. Free throws, she did what she had to do, right? Because it was pretty poor free throw shooting for both sides, both right at 66%. So like both teams really struggle from the line, but Madison Booker goes 6 of 7. And that is massive. That is massive in this game, because those increments of Madison Booker production allows kind of avoiding the snowball a little bit from South Carolina. So that felt massive. Roy Harmon struggled in this game and goes 1 of 9. Doesn't have a ton of assists, only 4 points on the game. Like that's Madison Booker that stepped up and was able to be the star in this game for Texas that they needed, alongside, again, the dominant scoring down low in the post. I mean, you look at the bigs, you have 11, 8, 13 from the bigs, right? I think one thing I do want to see going forward from Texas, I saw it firsthand at the Red River Rivalry game against Oklahoma here in Norman. Jordan Lee, the freshman, I want to see her be a floor spacer for Texas. Like when teams start loading up heavy, that's where I think Jordan Lee can be massive. I mean, she was knocking down threes and spreading the floor like crazy against Oklahoma. That's what I'm interested in seeing, if they can kind of grow her into that. That might not be this season, but I think in the long term, Madison Booker and Jordan Lee side by side is going to be very, very good. I'm very excited to see that combo. But again, I mean, you look at the scoring totals here for South Carolina. Only one player in double figures, and that's Fulwiley off the bench. Joyce Edwards had been on a tear coming into this game. I think it was like the last 5 games she'd been leading the team in scoring. I mean, she's been fantastic. And today she ends up with 9 points, 4 6. Not a ton of volume on the shots from Joyce, but I mean, we've seen South Carolina win by depth and by, kind of by committee in that way and everything. And today it was just too little for that strategy. You kind of needed someone to be there to go get a bucket, especially late. And it felt like they didn't have that today. And I think that's a lot to credit Texas defense. And it never felt like South Carolina, you always kind of feel like is good for a run at some point in a game. And it just didn't happen today. And I think there's various factors that go into that, but South Carolina never led in this game. Like that's like we've seen South Carolina get slow starts at sometimes, like just in general over the years. But normally that third quarter turn up is there, or even like that second half turn. It might happen in the fourth quarter, but like you see them pull away. We've seen it several times this season, right? And so I was just like, at some point, South Carolina is going to go on a run, and how does Texas respond? But truthfully, it never happened. Texas was able to stagnate South Carolina in a way that we hadn't seen, because obviously the other loss to UCLA, that was I was just dominant from UCLA. It wasn't this, like kind of back and forth. And this was a back and forth game, even though the lead didn't change in that way. But like whether it be like a pow 3 or I mean something like it felt there were several moments during the game where I was like, okay, is this it for South Carolina? And Texas just remained composed, which they totally lacked in that first game at CLA. But at home, in front of their home crowd, which was a great home crowd, the energy seemed lit on the broadcast, they did what they had to do. And this was a hump that I had kind of been waiting for Texas to get over in that way. And I didn't know if this was going to be the game. I didn't know if this was going to have to be a big win in March Madness. I didn't know when it was going to come, but I had kind of been waiting for that major Texas win, right? And to see how they go from there with it. And so I'm not crowning Texas. I still think South Carolina is going to win the SEC tournament, but to see where Texas goes from here is going to be super, super intriguing, because again, you know what Texas is going to do. You know what they are on the defensive side of the ball. You especially know what they are on the offensive side of the ball. And there's just going to be teams that can't stop it in general, right? And South Carolina struggled to stop it. They made life difficult, but there was just certain shots that were shots that you're like, oh, I'm okay with X person taking that shot. And none of those shots fell in that first game. Enough of them fell in this game for Texas to pick up this major win. Again, South Carolina, I'm not sounding any major alarms or anything like that, but I do think that this was the first game that we really felt the true impact of missing Ashlyn Watkins. Again, we saw it a little bit in that first Texas game. This one felt like the major one to me, where you just saw repeatedly different players being able to get theirs in the paint from a Texas team that obviously has a ton of size. Again, I'm intrigued to see how South Carolina bounces back, especially in that UConn game. I'm not worried. But interesting, I think the where I'll kind of be looking is, how do you continue to get Joyce Edwards involved in different ways? Because she like you said, 4-6 in this game. I mean, at least 2 of those, if not 3 of those, came off 4 vertical fast breaks. I mean, we saw like that incredible pass from Raven Johnson at the beginning of the game where she threads it through. I think it was Madison Booker that was coming across, and threads it through. How do you get her more involved in that way? Especially when other players haven't been able to get a bucket. I mean, because really, the bench scoring has been phenomenal for South Carolina. And again, Malaysia is the only player that ends up in this game with double-figure points for South Carolina. Joyce is the one I point to for that, just because she had been on such a tear. And again, this is a very tough game to be a big against Texas. So I'm by no means am I sounding any alarms, but the facts are the facts. The SEC regular win streak is over for South Carolina. Now, how do they respond? I feel pretty confident in that, in what Don Staley is able to do in their response. But for Texas, what a win. I mean, you're now 24-2. Your only other loss, you lose to South Carolina and Notre Dame so far, right? They haven't played the toughest schedule by any means, not in the non-conference and everything. But this is a win that makes you sit up in your seat and go, what can Texas do in March? And can they be there in April? It's now a more worthy question than it had been by any means prior. So very, very excited for that. But again, we mentioned it earlier. We're going to have boots on the ground all over. I will be at the Battle of LA in Los Angeles. Shawnee will be at UConn, South Carolina. I will be at LSU, Texas. We have a ton of stuff going down this week. A major announcement from No Cap Space as well coming this coming week. I'm very excited about that. But for me here at No Cap Space, Tyler and Shawnee, of course, not ducking the smoke by any means. Thank you for tapping in. Subscribe. Make sure you're on the website as well. That's where the announcement is mainly going to be at. But I'm sure we'll be talking about it here on YouTube as well. So be ready to talk about it. Be ready to be excited about the coverage that's coming from No Cap Space. Subscribe here on YouTube. Subscribe on the website. And I will see you next time. And most importantly, before I leave, go Birds.